Good evening. This is the Board of Adjustment meeting for the City of Bettendorf for July 8th, 2021. Roll call, please.
Gallagher?
Yes.
Spranger? Tansey?
Here.
Comberg?
Here.
Okay, we have a quorum. This is the Board of Review, as I said, and, I'm sorry, Board of Adjustment, the wrong board. Those things happen. And we are appointed by the mayor, and our function is to review certain variances and other matters that are properly before us. Then the first item of the business, I guess, is to review the minutes and approve the minutes of our last month's meeting of June 10th, 2020. You received those in your packets. Do I have any additions or corrections to the minutes? If not, I'd entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll approve the minutes of our
June
June
10th.
10th meeting.
I will second.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion is approved. The next item is case number 21044. It's 3923 State Street. It's an I-2 district. It's a variance to allow an on-premises identification sign on a non-street frontage and to increase the allowable square footage of on-premises identification signage from 279 square feet to 929 square feet, and it's submitted by Manats, Inc. Staff report.
Thank you, Chairman. All right. This is a request, as mentioned, for a variance to allow more sign square footage than allowed in the I-2 district for a on-premise identification, specifically signage. Currently allowed, the currently allowed on-premise identification signage not on a street frontage for this particular property is 279 square feet. This is calculated by the lot width and the building setback of where the signs are to be located, divided by 2, I should mention. The applicant is proposing 3 signs. 1 monument sign, which would show the building name and address, totaling 48 square feet, and then 2 on-building signs, one at 200 square feet, a 10 by 20 sign, and a 681 square foot sign, which is roughly 20 by 40 with a cutout included, so hence the lesser 681 square feet. And we have no precedent for a case like this in the I-2 district, so when staff analyzed this, they looked at similar signages in commercial areas that were on heavily traffic streets and with similar setups. To show some of the images of the proposed signs, you can see I have the 1 sign proposed on the west side of Manats, which is a concrete mixing plant located off State Street. This would be on the mixing tower, I believe it is, or a tower of some sort. So we have the west sign, which is the smaller, the 10 by 20 sign, and then the proposed north side of the building, proposed sign here on the upper right of the screen. The middle, the center picture shows the view from the corner of Devil's Glen and State Street, to kind of give you some perspective of how large the building is and what the sign would look like on the proposed renderings. Staff does note there are some hardships do exist for the premise. There is the irregular lot size, which is included in the total allowable sign square footage calculation for this particular area. And there is at least 1 large billboard located at the intersection of Devil's Glen and State Street, which traveling eastbound does block the, most of the property in the building from that stoplight. So those are two hardships located there. In analyzing this, staff notes that the 48 square foot monument sign, which would normally be included in the total allowable sign square footage allowance, we want that to be included. That has benefits for fire, public safety, and just wayfinding. It's only 48 square feet. So we'd propose that not be included in the total allowance. And then due to the surrounding uses, or due to the noted hardships, and the, we would recommend having approval of one on-building sign frontage, we propose frontage of 15 by 25, which would be 375 square feet, and that'd be more than 279 allowed based on the formula. This is, like I said, based on the hardships of the property. Thank you.
Okay, any questions for staff from the,
Did staff give any consideration to allowing two signs within a certain square footage, whether it's 375 or similar?
Of the same amount of square footage, we would, yes, but given the applicant's request, we propose the one sign, yes.
Just with the one on the, is that the east side?
It's the west
The
facing
west side of the building there.
Right.
10 by 20, so that's 200 square feet minus the
Correct.
cutouts. You could get two of them of that size and still be probably within 375, given the cutouts.
Yes, the proposed west side building sign does not include a cutout. It's a different, as I was told, I haven't seen the signs in person. So it is a square sign, and you can see it has a different background, but something of that nature could probably, yes, happen. And I will note that our sign ordinance does prescribe one allowable on-premise identification sign per street frontage. So this would technically not be on the street frontage, the west-facing sign.
Right.
It is, I would say, staff would say, could note that it is the most visible sign or side of the building, especially as seen from the perspective of State and Devil's Glen.
Yep.
So,
it is.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? If not, does there anybody wish to speak in favor of the applicant?
Steve or Graham, are you on the line still?
There? Whoops.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm having a hard time hearing. Am I able to speak at this time?
Go ahead, yes, please do.
Gentlemen and folks, we appreciate the board's time today and looking into this matter for us today. And I understand when the reason we're here is probably because we didn't take the time to look into an ordinance or a sign permit. We weren't aware of it at the time. And we went ahead and purchased these signs, and they're currently in our building waiting to be erected. So that's not an excuse. That's on us. We should have done due diligence and looked into that. But if we do split these into two signs, it would mean probably getting rid of both and ordering new signs. So I don't know if it's too late to request if the board would consider maybe just using the one sign, the bigger sign. I mean, if we went with the smaller sign at 200, we wouldn't need the variance, if I understand it correctly. But if we could go with the bigger sign and take the other sign down or not use the other sign, if that would be a compromise, I don't know. The other thing I'm asking out of ignorance is we actually have 3 lots there that we purchased, and if we were 3 different businesses, I don't know how that would be handled with just the frontage and then the 2 lots behind. There is an alleyway that provides access to those 2 lots behind there. So if that was a different business, I don't know how they would be considered or taken into consideration for their sizes. But put that aside, I mean, I don't know if that's an option for the board to consider at this time.
Okay. Does staff have any comments as far as that's concerned?
I will note as Graham mentioned, the 3 lots shown on the screen, and then the X's are showing the proposed placement of those signs. They hold deed to all 3 of those lots. The building's located on one. Their parking and mixing, I think, is on another, and I believe the third one is parking or storage of some sort. So
Was all of the frontage included in the calculation, or just the lot that they have?
the frontage was calculated at the frontage of State Street, and then the depth of the lot, the depth of the building was calculated. So the widest lot was calculated for the frontage, correct?
Not all 3, okay.
I think I have
Folks, and if I could add to that, it's really got nothing to do with this, but just to tell you a little about Manat. I mean, when we come to town, we definitely try and improve things. I don't know if anybody recalls the plant that was there before and the condition it was in. But we spent a lot of money in improving this, not only for production for ourselves, but also for the aesthetic look of the place. We're not done yet. We're spending money on a landscaping business to do work out front to improve the property, and that's our intent. To put a small sign up front, it just wouldn't do the building any justice. So I know it's got nothing to do with the ordinance or the calculation, but I just wanted you to be aware of where we come from and the company we are. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a question. So
Go ahead.
the original sign that he said he's already purchased is the 20 by 40, correct?
I believe he's purchased all 3.
Right, but I mean, isn't that the size that we're debating
Yeah,
here?
one of them's 20 by 40, one of them's 10 by 20.
Yeah.
But
But the 20
I'm
by 40
requesting
is the
that,
one.
that perhaps you consider the 20 by 40 and we drop the 10 by 20. The 10 by 20 is really pretty small for the front side of the building.
So the question is for the exception to be on the 20 by 40 and allowing that and dropping the 10 by 20. And obviously you've already said that the sign that identifies the address is not part of the discussion.
Correct, that's what we're proposing.
I mean, I do agree there's a hardship with the outdoor board on State Street. I think that it's, we all know if there's a green light there, nobody's going 25. So, I do think that is a definite hardship. And schematically, when you put up the depth of where his building is, when you look at the Q Auto or whatever the one is on the corner, the yellow sign, their sign look huge. When you see in proportion to their lot size. So I can definitely see why they went with the 20 by 40. And it's not right on State Street. It is set back.
I think staff would also think about the lot depth. Our equation is a little bit different than some cities use, where it takes the lot depth and the lot frontage. And it is a very long L-shaped lot, and that's a little bit hard to get to work with our formula.
Mm-hmm.
So as I see the board working this problem over, sometimes the math, although the math is that we've done is accurate, isn't always reflective of the geography and
Of where it lies.
Yep, and the angle of approach. While the front of the building is that frontage on State Street, what people see is not the front of the building.
Right.
And that sounds counterintuitive, but it is true. So as certainly staff is always trying to be workable with business owners and trying to give them the broadest interpretation of code. And I would just leave it at that. So if there's a way that maybe the board is seeing something that staff missed here, we would understand that.
I'm just thinking that there's never been a comparison. There's not been one in the industrial section, so he's not right on State Street. You know, he does have that L-shaped lot that allows that sign to be set off of State Street. And quite honestly, where it is and how high it is quite, I mean, you buy a billboard, you're buying a 20 by 40, you know? So it's billboard size, he just happens to have it on his building instead of buying an actual billboard, so. You know, I don't think it ruins the aesthetics of the neighborhood by any means. And-
Certainly, yeah.
And the fact that he is willing to drop the other sign so that he's at least closer to what code is, says that he's trying to work within the city guidelines that he didn't know were there.
I will note the formula used for on premise identification signage. So that's a classification of signage that goes across multiple zoning districts.
Sure.
So the same would be applied to a C1, C2, et cetera. So that could be made that I2 is different than C1 and by average size of lot, average setback, et cetera.
Okay.
So that could be consideration.
Which would be a unique factor for this particular case because it is an I2 district,
Right.
our almost most intense district that we have. Only I1 would be more intense. Does this, if I could ask a question, Mr. Chairman,
Certainly.
does the sign have any lighting, any reflectivity, any type of digital display? Or is it simply attached to the building?
I would defer to the
I
applicant.
can answer that. The intent is to put 3 lights at the lower side of the sign that will shine up
Uplit?
to the sign. There is no reflective light, or there's no nothing else. It's just 3 lights from the base that will shine up at it.
Well, I think this is unique because of the size of the building and the fact that it's in an I2 section, or I2 district, and is pretty well set back from State Street. Certainly, I don't think it's contrary to the public interest to allow this exception because of the uniqueness of the building and the uniqueness of its location.
And personally, I think that had they known that this guideline was there, they probably would have come to us anyway to ask for the permission instead of, you know, reactive. So, taking that into consideration. So is the motion to,
Well, there isn't a motion yet, but if you'd like to make a motion, you could make a motion to
I guess we should
approve
see if there's anybody against it.
the, I'm sorry, yeah, I guess I should. We haven't asked if anybody would like to speak opposed to it. I notice there's nobody in the chamber at the moment. Is there anybody on Zoom or on the phone that would like to speak opposed to this application? I don't believe there is, so go ahead, I'm sorry.
And staff has not received any comment.
Okay. So there's no motion on the floor, so if you want to make a motion, you could certainly do that. And I think the applicant is requesting, is kind of suggesting that they would be acceptable to them if it was a 20 by 40 sign, and
And
the other
drop the
sign
10
would be
by-
dropped.
I'll move to approve a motion to case 21-044 to allow the 20 by 40 sign, drop the 10 by 20 sign, and of course, not include this sign that's on State Street.
And staff would ask for a clarification if that is for just on one side of the building or any side of the building.
And I think the side that the owner said would be just on the one side of the building, which I'm assuming right now is that west side.
So non-frontage would
Is
be
that-
acceptable.
Am I correct in that? Maybe I should ask the owner.
Is that the north, it's the north side, isn't it?
I believe,
This
yeah,
one's-
the
the big
north
one's for the north
would be
side.
considered
Okay.
frontage and the west would be considered non-frontage.
Yeah,
Or the
so it'd
north
be the big
side.
ones to the
I
north.
believe we have it on the State Street side.
Yep.
Okay.
Correct,
Is that correct?
Yep,
That is correct.
okay.
I would second that motion.
Okay, so the motion is to approve a 20 by 40 sign on the State Street side and also to approve the 48-foot square monument sign to be included as well, as I understand it. Am I right?
Correct.
Okay. So how about a roll call vote then?
Gallagher?
Yes.
Tansey?
Yes.
Comverse?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. The next item is case 21054. It's 6906 Competition Court. It's a C7, and it's proposed apparently to be a C3. Special use permit to allow an outdoor service area associated with 2 restaurants, submitted by Bill DeSuit, Inc., and Kevin Kellner. Staff report, please.
Thank you, Chairman. As mentioned, this is a request for special use permit for 2 outdoor service areas located in 1 building. The lot is currently zoned C7, but is currently going through readings for rezoning to C3. Which I think the final reading will be July 20th. All adjacent parcels are zoned C7. This is located just east of the Betplex and west of the Quick Start gas station. Patios will be located on each end of the building. Parking requirements were viewed at the site development review. They were shown on the site development plan for the Planning Commission. Staff will note that. The lot, as you can see, is located off of Competition Drive, and the cul-de-sac here will be Competition Court. Here we have the gas station, and then the rest of the developments to the south, and then the Betplex to the northwest. There's the zoning and the proposed zoning. And the site plan as shown, the lot will consist of 2 or 3 buildings. The southern building here is the location of the proposed outdoor service areas. 1 patio will be located on the east end and the other on the west end. The proposal is for 2 restaurants. One addition to note is there will be a sidewalk located on the west side of Competition Court, and that sidewalk will jog just to the east of the eastern patio, and then also wrap around on Competition Drive. No comment was received by staff. Neighbors were notified. Let's see if I have anything else. I do have a landscape plan, and there will be some landscaping. This doesn't show quite the sidewalk, but the sidewalk will go through this landscaping and trees, so to give that idea too. I can take any questions.
Any questions for staff from the board?
I know zoning's not our purview, but I'm just wondering, the change from C7 to C3 for that, what are there what allowable uses are there in C3 that are
The
causing
use
this
of the
change?
northern building is proposed to have a kind of a unique tenant that involves trucking service straps of some sort. A vehicle use that, they needed to rezone. That
Gotcha.
does not fit in the entertainment district. That would fit into the C3
Gotcha.
district.
Thank you.
Okay. Anybody wish to speak in favor of this application? Anybody wish to speak opposed to it? Okay, hearing none. Anyone want to make a motion?
I would move that we approve case 21054.
I'll second.
Okay, roll call.
Gallagher?
Yes.
Tansey?
Yes.
Comverse?
Yes.
Okay. It's approved. So, thank you all. Anything else to come before us tonight? Okay, thank you all for coming. Stand adjourned.